Nancy is hyper-intelligent and studious, having a high GPA and studying vigorously for tests. However, after entering a relationship with Steve, she became more rebellious, lying and participating in activities she most likely wouldn't have done otherwise. While her actions were being influenced by her new friends, she still remained kind, sympathetic, and studious. Her genius level of intellect led to finding the truth behind Barb's disappearance, even though she still felt guilty. She was also shown to have a tremendous amount of bravery, resolve, and conviction, going to great lengths for those she cared for. When she was looking for the missing Barb, she boldly entered a portal to another dimension in an attempt to save her friend. Later, determined to kill the monster, she willingly used her and Jonathan's blood to lure it out. Steve Harrington. Steve and Nancy first began seeing each other shortly sometime around 1983. While Nancy initially believed that Steve wasn't serious about their relationship, this turned out to not be the case. In truth, Steve really loved Nancy, claiming she was not like other girls. After having sex at the party held at Steve's house, they officially entered a relationship. However, when Nancy became distant due to the disappearance of her friend Barb, Steve grew worried. When he visited her house to check on her, he witnessed Nancy and Jonathan together in her room, making him believe she was cheating. When Nancy confronted him, Steve gave her a chance to explain herself, though, due to the extraordinary nature of the events, she was unable to. After realizing his mistakes, he went to the buyer's house in order to apologize. There, he unexpectedly helped Nancy and Jonathan fight the Demogorgon. A month after these events, Steve and Nancy had gotten back together. The two had dated for nearly a year when their relationship was once again put in jeopardy. No longer being able to bear the guilt of Barb's death, Nancy told Steve they should tell the Hollands the truth. Steve rejected this idea, reminding her that doing so would put them and their families in danger. At a Halloween party, Nancy became intoxicated, leading her to reveal that she did not have feelings for him, which emotionally crushes Steve. When Nancy confronts Steve the following day, she has no memory of her drunken state and tries to reassure Steve what she said wasn't true. Steve tries to get Nancy to prove by telling him she truly loves him, but Nancy couldn't find the words to say it, leading the two to break up. When Nancy recounts her drunken state with Jonathan, she feels guilty for hurting Steve's feelings and wonders if she really meant what she said to him. When Nancy meets with Steve again, she thanks him for watching over the kids, and Steve tells her that she should be with Jonathan, having come to accept her love towards Jonathan. Nancy tried to apologize to Steve for hurting his feelings, but Steve just calmly brushed it off. In 1986, Nancy and Steve begin working together, alongside members of the party, to investigate the murders around Hawkins. With Jonathan in California, romantic tension seemingly begins building between Nancy and Steve once again. Not only do the pair show interest in one another at several points, but Steve recounts a dream he once had to Nancy. He would have liked to have 6 or 7 children to pack into an RV and go on a road trip around America with Nancy by his side. Steve himself also ponders if their relationship would have worked out had Steve been given a wake-up call by another girl prior to meeting Nancy. Later on, after Jonathan jokingly makes a dig at Steve's maturity, Nancy points out Steve has actually grown a lot. The fondness Nancy appears to show for Steve seems to worry Jonathan. Jonathan buyers Nancy and Jonathan spoke to each other when Will went missing, with Nancy reassuring him that Will's going to be fine. Prior to this, it seems the two rarely interacted, mostly because Jonathan avoided talking to people. When she finds out that Jonathan took pictures of Nancy and her friends at Steve's party, she did not show resentment towards him and later asks for his help when her friend, Barb, goes missing, which he accepted. They form a bond over their mutual goal of finding their brother and friend respectively and become close. After discovering Barbara had been killed, Nancy was comforted by Jonathan and the two worked together in trying to kill the Demogorgon. A month later, after Will's rescue, Nancy gave Jonathan a Christmas present and reassured him it didn't matter that he got her anything for Christmas before she gave him. Bella, who first appears in Twilight, is a 17-year-old human girl who moves from her mother's home in Phoenix, Arizona, to live with her father, Charlie Swan, a police chief, in her birthplace of Forks, Washington. There, she is enrolled at Forks High School, where she becomes intrigued by a 17-year-old vampire student, Edward Cullen, and his family. When Edward saves her life, she is determined to find out what Edward Cullen is and why he saved her with his superhuman qualities. Bella learns from Jacob Black that Quileute legends say the Cullen family are cold ones. Edward eventually admits that he is a vampire, though his family has what they call a vegetarian diet, only hunting animals. Edward constantly warns Bella against being with him, perceiving her life to be at constant risk because her blood scent is more seductive to him than any other human he has ever met, due to her being his singer. Cantante is the Italian expression that the Volturi use to describe a human whose blood particularly appeals to a certain vampire in an extreme sense. Cantante is the Italian word for singer, denoting when the blood of the human signs for the vampire. Bella's love and confidence in Edward's restraint are such that his warnings go unheeded. While playing baseball with the Cullen family, she becomes the target of a sadistic vampire, James. Edward saves Bella from James' predation, though Edward is still unwilling to change Bella into a vampire himself. 6. Jacob Black was born to Billy and Sarah Black. Unfortunately, his mother Sarah died in a tragic car crash when he was 9 years old. He has 2 older sisters, twins Rachel and Rebecca Black. Rebecca married a surfer named Solomon Fana and moved to Hawaii, while Rachel had been off to college. Jacob grew up with his 2 best friends, Embry Call and Quill Atiravi, and spent the majority of his life living with his father on La Push. Like many teenagers of his generation, the Quileutes have been passed their knowledge and traditions by their elders, but none of them took it seriously, believing them to be nothing more than superstitions. Jacob was therefore completely unaware of his true power until it awakened in New Moon. Bella Swan and Jacob Black. Bella actually falls in love with Jacob in New Moon. It's understandable why this fact didn't occur to her. Bella had fallen in love only one other time, and it was a very sudden, dramatic, sweep you off your feet, change your world, magical, passionate, all-consuming thing. She didn't recognize the much more subtle falling in love she experienced with Jacob. She was only aware that she preferred being with him over everyone else, that he was constantly on her mind, and that his happiness was essential to her own. She also enjoyed being physically close to him in a way that she didn't with her other friends. But it took her a while to add up all the pieces.